Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This video is brought to you by Smiley Face Coffee, the official coffee of the Lost Genre community. Go ahead and check it out. The link is in the description below. Now let's get started with today's first story. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Confusedn00. My girlfriend, 29 female, introduced me to her son, 13 male, and I don't know if I want to parent him. My girlfriend Emily and I have been dating for 6 months now. 2 nights ago, she sat me down and told me that she had something to tell me. Emily said that when she was 16, she was in a rough situation and got pregnant. When her baby was born, her parents had an agreement with Emily's sister that she would raise the baby until Emily had the means to get him back. Emily worked hard to graduate, get a job, and have her own apartment, and finally got back in contact with her son. He's been doing weekly visits and has his own room at her place. We mostly either go out or hang out at my place, and while I see her often, she does say she has family stuff if she's busy. Soon, he'll be moving in full-time, and they're both really excited. In the past, they had done counseling sessions with a child psychologist so that he could come to terms with everything, and according to Emily, he's very well adjusted. They have a good relationship, he's got a clean record and is doing very well in school. She asked if I would be willing to meet him the next day because it was her next visit. I said that was fine, and before I left, she said she didn't want me to feel like she was looking for someone to be her son's dad. She just wanted to be open with me, and since he was such a huge part of her life, it was only fair that I was included because she wanted me to be a big part of her life. I asked why she didn't tell me before, and she told me it was because she didn't want to complicate things and so her son's privacy could be respected. In the past, she'd made the mistake of letting people in too early and it just hurt them both. I didn't really know how to feel when I left, but everything just felt odd. So yesterday, I went over to her house for dinner and she introduced me to her son. He shook my hand and kept calling me by my last name like I was a teacher. He was very polite and a little bit shy. Even though he's a pretty stocky guy, he kept trying to hide behind his mom like he was 7. It was endearing. We got along really well and talked about how he likes sports and how excited he is to come live with his mom. Nothing too serious, just lighthearted fun. By the time we finished dinner, Emily was upset because it was getting late and he still hadn't done his homework. They argued a little bit, but it was all very light, and she was really nice. He struggled a little with his math, so I stepped in to help out. We talked about how he wanted to do something regarding science when he was older, and Emily piped up saying that I work in STEM. He got really excited about that and bumped again when Emily made him do his English homework. Overall, they had a really good dynamic. When I first came into the apartment, he was shy enough just to be mumbling to his mom, and she didn't force him to talk or yell at him. She just let him cling on to her and mumble until he was comfortable. Emily gushed about how good he is at sports, and he said that not only does Emily come to every game, but she always cheers the loudest for him. After he went to bed, Emily said that she was really happy with how things went, and that she was glad that we got along so well. I agreed and we left it at that. Seeing Emily last night made me realize that I really do love her and I'd be really excited to have kids with her. I just don't know if I want this kid. He's a nice kid and we got along really well, but I don't want to feel like a stepfather. There's just something unique to having raised your own kids and seeing them from day one. And there's a lot of baggage involved. Even if both of them have tried to work it out, it'll keep rising up. But I do like Emily and her son is a nice kid, but I don't know if I'm ready to enter into it all. Am I wrong in feeling apprehensive? How can I communicate this to Emily? What's a good plan to proceed with? Well, in my opinion, no, of course you're not wrong in feeling apprehensive. That is how you feel, and it's understandable. I mean, you didn't know that this kid existed, and now you've met him. You've only been to dinner one time with him, so you clearly don't know him at all. You just know a couple of things about him, but that's it. There's no bond there. And also, not everyone can be a step-parent. It takes a special kind of person to be able to love other people's children like that. As a side note, shout out to all of the step parents that love their stepkids. That's an awesome thing you guys are doing. Now, back to you, OP. There is one thing that just cannot be sidestepped, and the fact is that Emily and her son come together. It is what you would call a package deal. I don't know if that sounds bad, but they come together and that's how it is. So if you do want to have Emily be a part of your life forever, you want to marry her, you want to have a future with her, she comes with her son, and eventually, well, he will be your stepson and you will be a father figure to him. That is, if you want your marriage to be successful. So here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. I wouldn't maybe right away tell Emily that I'm apprehensive about this because you've only seen him one time. So give it a little time, get to know the kid a little bit more, have maybe some one-on-one time with him, and then if the apprehension is still there, then you talk to Emily and you take it from there. The thing is, OP, that life and love are funny sometimes and you don't know where it can be. Who knows, man? Maybe you bond with this kid in a way that you love him so much you couldn't ever imagine your life without him, even if you haven't raised them from day one. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? How would you approach it? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Boogie3Woogie says, they are a package deal. The kid comes with the wife. If you don't want the kid, you should leave. Many people in this thread talk about how she kept her kid a secret. It's true, but none of that changes the fact that you don't want to parent this kid. Deleted says, I'd be super apprehensive that she didn't tell you about him for 6 months. It's one thing for her to not want you to meet him for a while. That's normal and healthy. But not telling you he exists is not to protect his privacy. It's because it was easier on her not to tell you. Asymmetrically Sally says, it's great that she waited 6 months to introduce her kid to her partner. It's absolutely horrible that she waited 6 months to tell her partner about the fact that she has a kid. That alone is reason enough to sever the relationship, I'd say. She's the one that said she didn't want me to feel like she was looking for someone to be her son's dad. But if that weren't true, she'd have been honest from the get-go. Brief as Possible says, quote, I do want kids with her, I just don't know if I want this kid, end quote. Doesn't work like that, buddy. Package deal or break up with her. He seems like a good kid, especially in the circumstances. If you are foolish enough to try and make her pick between the two of you, we'll mess him up for life. Either take them both or walk. Palumbo says, dude, it's just a few days. Let yourself accept the news before you take any decisions. You know Emily is who she is because she is a mother, among other things. It is a part of her identity and it made her become the one to who you are attracted. She told you she wasn't seeking a dad for him. Being a stepdad has nothing in common with it. And Say There's Hope says, you don't have to parent her child, you know. She said she didn't want a father figure for him. You could just be his friend and not parent him whatsoever and leave that all up to her. My best friend who had a son who was 12 when she married, her husband doesn't not parent her son and act like a father figure. They have kids of their own that he does parent. It can work. But if you are scared of being a stepfather for completely unclear reasons, then just dump her. OP's edit update. I read the comments here and took a lot of them to heart. I also wanted to hear her side of the story, so I texted and asked what she was up to and if she wanted to get coffee. She responded that her son was feeling really needy and she wanted to spend some time with him, but if I was willing to come over, she had a coffee maker. I told her it was about her son, and she said it was okay, he could go to his room for a little bit and we could talk on her terrace. So I came over, she made a good cup of coffee, and we hung out awkwardly for a moment before I asked her why she lied to me. After getting her master's, Emily started getting involved with her son and with a new guy. On their first date, she told him she had a son, and apparently he posed a threat to her son's safety, and it almost caused her sister to completely ban her from visiting. Emily said it mattered too much to her to let it happen again, and she's been trying to give herself a time period where she can figure out if someone's safe to be around him or not. She said she waited too long, and she apologized sincerely. I told her I needed a little bit more time to think, and then I said bye to her and her son and just went home. I'm still conflicted. Yikes. Alright, well, the community mainly focused on the reason that Emily didn't disclose the fact that she had a son. Like some commenters said, it was fine that she didn't introduce OP to her son, but he should have known about it. That is something I did not address in my initial commentary, and I should have, because those commenters were right. She did do that wrong. Anyway, OP addressed it, and now he's still conflicted. So it's time to move on to the update, but before that, just give me a few seconds to tell you about the Holiday Delights collection from Smiley Face Coffee, where you will find 3 different holiday-themed coffees for you to try and enjoy. Go ahead and check them out. The link is in the description below and on the top right corner of the screen right now. Now, let's continue with the update. I'm surprised I even remembered the password to this account. It's been some time, but I'm back. I just thought that with all of that help and kindness I received, why not update? So I'm still with Emily. I went forward with the idea that Emily and her son are a package deal in mind, and it's been kind of a weird process since. We get along really well, and I've found that I'm lucky to have this kid in my life. He's funny, mature, intelligent, witty, but at the same time, he's not my kid, and he never will be, and that's something hard to navigate. It's hard even to describe the feeling of loving this kid and feeling like a dad, but never being one and feeling like you can't be one. But I try. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Emily can testify to the tears, but it's so worth it. A few weeks after I found out about him, Emily told me that her son was getting picked on because he didn't have a dad to do a father-son activity at school with. I decided to go, sort of just to scope out how that sort of thing felt. The look on his face got rid of every question I've had, every doubt or regret. Emily and I are in counseling. We found out shortly after I posted that Emily is pregnant, and we are twice blessed in that it's twin girls. It was a major just happened. I wasn't careful. There were a lot of emotions, and we both knew that it was a weird situation and we hadn't been dating that long, so we went to see a counselor. Sometimes Emily's son joins us, but it's mostly us learning how to be our best for her son, our daughters, and each other. We've been definitely testing each other some days, and this pregnancy has put a strain on every relationship we have. Her son moved in, and they're stepping on each other's toes. I moved in, and we're all learning our new boundaries and new bonds. It's hard. We have talked about our family, and it's on the table that I'm not his dad, so I'm not going to call myself that. Personally, I think it's a lot more uncomfortable to go trucking ahead and call myself his dad when he doesn't like to hear it either. It doesn't ease our transition or help Emily's son. It just makes things awkward. There are a lot of stupid mistakes I regret making now that I'll regret more in 5 years. If I had a time machine and my current knowledge, I might have been more careful during sex. I might have put distance where I didn't. But for right now, I'm happy to be with my girlfriend and her son, waiting for our little Amelia and Lorelei. This is teaching me how to be a good dad, a good partner, and a good human. I'm learning coping skills for so many things in life, and I'm just learning how to be okay. This is a situation a lot of people would shake their heads at and say, poor guy, but I'm really blessed. I'm really thankful. Thanks for helping me out, everyone. Wow, OP, well, I wasn't expecting that big of a turn, I would have eased into it a little bit more, but since you are in this situation, yeah, I could go like, poor guy, you got duped or whatever, but you're happy, so I'm gonna choose to go over that and just say, here's wishing you and your new family the best in the future, OP. Take care, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's continue to the next post that is gonna be a mood booster. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Volshevik's Vapor Rub. Salaried exempt employees have to punch a time card now? Okay, it would sure be a shame if someone notified the labor board about your illegal personal time off practices though. A few years ago, I was employed by a relatively small but publicly traded company. I virtually guarantee you wouldn't recognize the name if you weren't in their specific little corner of the industry. Well, this place went public and they decided to use some of the money to purchase an even smaller company, and suddenly we were in the Department of Defense contracting business. As you may or may not know, the US Department of Defense places restrictions on private sector contractors about how much profit they're allowed to make, among other cost control mechanisms. One such mechanism is that anyone working on DoD contracts has to change their time to specific project codes so that they can compare your actual costs to the costs you estimated when you were awarded the contract. Well, our genius company decided that instead of only having the personnel working on these projects, which was no more than 50 out of over 1,000, they would make every single salary employee sign a time card every week. For 95+% of us, we charged 100% of our labor to the commercial side of the business, which was one project code, non-defense overhead, or something like that. Most people just charged 8 hours per day regardless of how many hours they actually worked, because no one tracks their time down to the minute. Shortly after this happened, new state legislation went into effect requiring that all employers provide 1 hour of sick leave per 40 hours worked. Nobody paid much attention to it, but I did, because I was in a fairly specialized engineering role with only 2 of us at the whole company, and I trained the other guy who also happened to live overseas to support another site. This is important later. I started charging my actual hours. I noticed that despite how many hours I charged, the amount of personal time off I was accruing stayed the same. This happened 3 or 4 paychecks in a row, and then I approached HR. They looked at me like I had 2 heads when I informed them they were not adjusting my personal time off accruals based on hours worked. But your salary, you're paid for 40 hours regardless of how many hours you work, they told me. I explained how that didn't really apply to the situation due to the new legislation. They again looked at me like I was completely crazy. They said they'd get back to me with an answer in a week or 2. Fast forward 2 months. I'm still diligently filling out my time cards like a good little drone, and I've spoken with several of my work buddies who have all started doing the same thing. The thing about this particular group of folks was that we all traveled internationally, oftentimes last minute, on a regular basis for work. Well, wouldn't you know it? It turns out that travel time, per our state labor laws, is considered working time. 16 hours worth of flights to Germany, all working time. I believe the language is place of rest to place of rest. And while you're there, you're not exactly relaxing. It's long days, handling customer concerns multiple days in a row. A perfect storm of circumstances happened that fall where we were all traveling around at the same time, and we all booked 120+ hour weeks of work. We all eagerly awaited our pay stubs to see all that personal time off accrued, and nope. We approached HR again, and they told us they would escalate the issue to their attorney, and we went back to work. Well, not surprisingly, things started going downhill for all of us. We started bitching about things a bit, and we all ended up quietly looking for jobs. Within a 5-week period, all of us put in our notices, and I lost my patience. I wrote an email to HR detailing our contacts with them and informed them that I would be escalating to the labor board without a full accounting of all backowed personal time off that we needed to be paid. I got a panicked phone call within about 5 minutes. Here's the rundown. HR Drone says, "Why are you even recording your hours that way? Your salary." "Because we have to fill out time cards." "Why don't you just put in 8 hours per day like everyone else?" "I'm sorry, but it sounds like you're asking me to falsify my time card. When I sign it, the time card specifically asks me whether I've reported my time accurately under threat of prosecution." No, why haven't you brought this up issue previously?" "I have, twice, with you. I detailed those encounters in the email I just sent. I'm sure the company's attorney has informed you of your requirements by now." They haven't gotten back to me." Then I say with a wide grin across my face, "Well, funny enough, I went ahead and emailed our general counsel. It turns out my email was the first they've heard of the concern. I've put in my notice. I expect to be paid in full for all backowed personal time off, or I will report it with the L&I, who take accusations of wage theft fairly seriously. I believe they give you a week to remit payment or pay up triple what's owed. Please contact me via email only when you have decided on a path forward." Click. It turns out that not only did I get paid the full personal time off I thought I was owed, but there was a bit extra on there as well. And one of my buddies went ahead and reported the company to the labor board anyway, which apparently caused quite a stir. Last I heard, the H department, with the exception of a couple of recruiters, got completely turned over all the way up to the VP. Well, OP, they wanted you to fill a time card and you have to follow the law. So good for you, OP, and thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.